Hello and welcome to this episode of the Wind Down ReWine. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
And how have you been doing, Tammy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. It seems that problematic people are still ruling the world. I don't know where to begin this week. Do you want to start with problematic musicians? Do you want to start with the royal family? Dealer's choice. I'm going to leave it up to you.
Oh, okay. We can start with the music.
Okay. Well, T.I., Clifford Harris, and his wife Tiny have been accused of, there's a whole list of charges: sexual assault, sexual battery, illegally force feeding women drugs, and the list goes on and on. And it has been known for a while that they were swingers, rumored to be swingers. And my thing is, whatever happens between consenting adults is between consenting adults. But this has taken a turn to where it turned at one point throughout these trysts non-consensual, especially with the force feeding of drugs and all of that. So lawyers are investigating. They're calling for investigation and possible charges to be brought against the couple. So we'll see what happens.
So basically they're being held for sexually assaulting people.
Yeah, being charged with sexual abuse and drugging multiple women. And so, he's in the Ant-Man series in the Marvel universe in the MCU. So it was released a couple of days ago that he will not be back for Ant-Man 3.
Now, granted, official word is that Disney said he wasn't supposed to be in it anyway. So it had nothing to do with what's going on in his life right now. That's what Disney said.
Yeah. Okay. If that's their story and they want to stick to it, we gonna let them stick to it. We'll see. Yeah. I don't know. I've had some issues with T.I. for a while just because of some of the very misogynistic shit he said, and I guess it was a few years ago when he talked about his daughter being a virgin and how he could tell and all this stuff, and basically put her and her sex life on blast on IG, and it was just crazy. So
I remember that.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that he did it. I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I'm just saying at the end of the day, somehow these allegations don't surprise me, and I guess that's sad too when I think about it. Now that I think about it and I say that, it's like, how can I not be shocked or surprised by these allegations? But I guess I am saddened for the women and the victims, the alleged victims. So, of course, word from T.I. and Tiny's camp is that, it's just a shakedown. And their
shakedown of what? You ain't nobody? I'm sorry.
Girl,
what we shaking you down for, bro?
He's the king of Atlanta.
Oh, please. Stop it.
Well, last year during the Rona, the height of the Rona, and just all the stuff that was going on with the civil justice, with the civil rights and the marches and protests, he was out front and center.
So were a lot of celebrities who actually do something on a regular basis. I'm we not surprised because this fits his personality. It fits his It fits his persona. It fits who he's shown himself to be. So I'm just like, if it comes out and it's proven, they got enough evidence to prove that you did what you did, go to jail. You need to be punished. If you're able to get away with what you and your wife did for years, because this was years that they were doing this, then I hope you lose enough fans that you never get to the status that you used to be at, because you ain't at that status now that you used to be at. But I'm just like, it's just too much stuff. Can we just get evil people to just take a break? Just take a break.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
It was like Well, they did use him a lot for Atlanta. The people of Atlanta love him. I don't know why. But
Because he's one of the only famous people from there that actually, has a name for himself.
Yeah. They also suspended their show on VH1. T.I. and I never watched it, so I don't even know the title of it. But their reality show, it was suspended when the allegations first came out, and that's when I first heard about it, when I put that on the website, popcornwinedown.com, plug, pop. But, but yeah, I don't know. I can't. I co-sign on everything you said. I agree. I was going to say something else, and then I just completely lost my train of thought because, Oh, I know what I was going to say. Well, you know how we as a people want to ride for our celebrities and ride for our stars or whatever. So, of course, there is a very big population of the Black contingent who thinks, turn to victim blaming. Why did the women wait so long?
We still got that shit with Bill Cosby and R. Kelly.
Yeah. They signed NDAs, and I'm like, homeboy, y'all didn't realize that the courts ruled a couple years ago with Weinstein, NDAs do not protect you from criminal behavior, So a lot of people I know used to hide behind those NDAs, but with Weinstein, the courts have said, no, NDAs do not protect you from criminal behavior. So,
I mean, you could still sue the people, but it ain't gonna stop you from being arrested.
No, and again, criminal acts and criminal things are not protected by NDAs. So I guess, but yeah. But I guess that's where I was going with this. That is what upsets me, is that, okay, I understand that, you have to wait and see. But every time someone comes forward, I'm getting sick of hearing, oh, why did it take so long? Or why didn't you do this as soon as that happened? Or I can't believe it happened. They're too famous to want to do this. And they don't have to drug anybody. Or, well, apparently they do. It's not just one woman. It's multiple women. And like you said, it's been going on for years.
Why do I feel like, when we was talking about like what stories we was gonna do, like as you're talking, the only thing that comes into my head is that huge bullying story that's going on from like one of the big like K-dramas now. And I follow like these group that loves K-dramas, and not to like really get into the details, but that's what they do. Like they're making excuses. Like I understand that you enjoy the craft that they have, and you enjoy that they're acting, and that you love them, or that you love the image that they portray. People seem to forget how celebrities are. Like, that's an image, that's a character that they're playing. Whether you're a musician, whether you are an actor or an actress, like it's a character that you have to play. There's a certain image that you put out there, and there's all these excuses on, oh well, it was years ago, like why is it a big deal now? I still love him. Like, really? Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, it just boggles my mind on the mindsets of human beings. And then we wonder why we're so disingenuous nowadays. Like, we don't feel empathy for the people that should have it. That's why the rich get away with everything that they get away with, because if you're rich, you obviously can't be evil, right? Like, you just can't do that kind of stuff.
Well, and it goes twofold to what you said. Like, when we're in public, even us being, I'm not going to say nobody's, but us being not famous or non-celebrities, when you're in public, you try to always put on your best face or your best foot forward. Like your mom, my mom always told me, don't take your business out into the streets. If you're arguing, you're not going to walk in the store continue to argue. You know what I'm saying? So it's just not like, oh, he's not going to say, yes, I am a sexual abuser, and just hold that out in public, or say, yeah, I like drugging women in my private life. I mean, no one's going to say that. So you're right. It is an image that we all, whether you're famous or not, put forth when you're in public.
But it's more forgiven when you are famous, because if it comes out that I did something, I will be crucified. But like people give celebrities too much a benefit of the doubt based on the characters that they play or the character that they portray to the public. And like, I just don't have that. Like, I may be very cynical, but I'm just like, like, how many of these rumors, like, when did rumors been going for years, then, I mean, there may be some truth up in there.
Yeah. Like I said, the rumors have been around that they were swingers, which is, hey, whatever floats your boat. Whatever happens between consensual adults, that's your private life, and whomever is swinging with y'all going that way. And some of these women have said, yeah, I went into it thinking that it was just going to be that, hooking up with them. That's fine, but then it took in between what started off as consensual. It seems a lot of these took a turn where it became non-consensual and illegal. So it went from kinky to straight up illegal. And that's where the problem is, So I just get sick of hearing, oh, well, you know what you signed up for when you said you wanted to have sex with this person, or when you were going to be with this person, you knew this person was married, blah, 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 blah. Like, when do we start putting the responsibility back on the people not to do illegal shit, not to do something against my consent, So that, I hate hearing that so much more from my Black people, that we tend to give way too many people the benefit of the doubt, especially when they don't deserve it. So we'll see what happens with that. And it also, not to get into it too much either, it kind of reminds me of when we were talking about what's going on with Cuomo, the governor of New York. He has his own scandal of sexual harassment. And I'm still trying to parse through all of that. When you said some things happened years ago, some of it seems like, okay, was it just him making a pass at a woman who didn't appreciate it or who didn't want him to hit on her? Is that harassment? And then some of it seems like, okay, you did go too far. So it's just like, we'll see what happens. And the hypocrisy along with all of that, all of a sudden now you have the other political party clutching their pearls and saying, oh, he should be vilified, when you let so many in your own party.
We had a friggin' president for 4 years that got over 20 accusations of rape and sexual assault. Let's be honest. So every single time that I hear some Republican come out and say about how, we need to hold him responsible, you didn't hold your dude responsible, so sit your behind back and let the Democrats handle it the way that they normally do.
Yeah. Well, and the Attorney General, Letitia James, in New York, she's already appointed an independent investigator to investigate the allegations. So, on top of that, it's like, okay, so we'll see what happens with that. But all of that just kind of reminded me of everything that was going on with Cuomo. So, yeah, it's a lot. Problematic people being problematic. Now, taking, where do you want to go next? We have
just
music. We have the royal family. Just let it flow. Well, I'm asking. I'm trying to let you guide us today. So, well, I guess we can stick with the politics of it all and go towards the royal family. I love the royal family. Well, let me rephrase. I used to love the royal family, and I've always said that Harry was my favorite. And we all know that what's been going on with him and Meghan Markle, his wife. They are no longer full-time royals. And that, you thought that would be the end of it. But they are going to go on Oprah. They have an interview with Oprah that's highly anticipated and coming out. And they're finally telling their story, their side of the story, because for so many years, the narrative that was put out mostly came from the royal family and the palace and the palaces. So all of a sudden now, this week, the royal family is investigating claims that Meghan Markle was a bully to her royal assistants. And I feel like I felt
No,
like you were about to say
go
something.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm listening.
So I was just gonna say the story seemed so convenient about her, bullying her royal assistant. So these are some of the reasons why they considered her a bully. Because she actually wanted them to work and do their jobs, that she actually wanted her opinion and her voice to be heard. And believe it or not, she actually sent emails early in the morning.
How early?
I guess it was about 5 or 6. They said that some of the emails would come up.
Sit your behind down until 8 o'clock when everything opens.
But to her assistants, if you're up and you send emails, but that doesn't make you a bully. So I'm just saying. And then, of course, something is wrong when even Meghan McCain is telling the royal family to sit their asses down and take several steps back. So it's like when you have Meghan McCain agreeing, coming down on the side of common sense and being like, what? Then but yeah, most people saw right through it, and they're saying that it's just them trying to.
I think the royal family is coming to the realization as they continue to try to use the same bully pulpit that they have in Great Britain, where people actually revere the royal family. This is America. And although we like hearing news about you, we don't give a fuck. So, as you go about your business and you're trying to bully her and Harry, who's actually your blood, into basically going silent, you have to realize there is a reason why they moved to America and didn't stay in Europe or in Great Britain. Because the media here compared to the media over there, where you control it, because you control what the media is going to say, but over here, we're going to be like, yo, we've been dealing with our celebrities for a minute, so go about your business with that bullying thing. I said, we got celebrities that we still love that be bullying their assistants. You good? Not to say that she did, but I'm just saying, like, they're slowly going to start to realize that you trying to control the media of America from another country across the sea or across the ocean is very, very different than you controlling the media that bullied her from when it came out that she was dating Harry. And that's what they're starting to realize, including the Queen and her grandson and her son. Starting to realize that it ain't going to flow as well as you thought it did while she was in Great Britain and you was able to bully that woman while she was pregnant with your grandchild.
And not only that, it's like, homeboy, y'all don't realize we have our own issues here. We do, but we protect our own. And not only is she American, but she is Black and American. So Black folks are gonna ride for her hard just because you see all the shit. And it's like, it doesn't seem like that they've learned their lesson, because the most popular royal ever was Princess Diana. Even after she divorced and left the royal family, she was still amongst the most popular royals. And this was before social media and everything, and you had the internet, and people revered her and loved her. And the more you tried to bully her and smear her, the more people loved her. They saw through it. So now, 30 years later, 20 years later, whatever, and with social media, you're doing the same thing to your grandson and his wife. And, we've said it before, he is his mother's son. He is more like his mother than he is like his father. And y'all did not think he would leave. Like, you gave him ultimatums. This woman and this kid or us, and he chose the woman and the kid. And he hasn't looked. And the more you do, it's
the more you push him, the more he stands his ground. And I think that is what is making them so mad. Is that it's worked before. It has always worked for the Queen. It has always worked for the royal family. Because for anyone who doesn't think that Queen has a full iron rod on her whole family, then you are very, very naive. Nothing goes through that family if it's not approved by the Queen of England. So the fact of that it has worked for her before, even after everything with Diana, she just went back to doing what she was doing. Like they looked at Diana like she was an anomaly. Like she wasn't the norm. She was the abnormal aspects of the royal family. And when she was gone, you went to have full control over her kids and over the image that you wanted them to portray. And I will say, you said that you've always liked Harry. I fell into the circle that always looked to William, was like, oh my gosh, like Prince William, like that was me. And then I became an adult and I realized that I don't want a man that goes bald so quickly. But
you know, that's inherited from the mother's line.
But you know, so like just going through that. But I do think that they're realizing that the more that you bully him and the more that you try to, like, the fact of the matter, he married a black woman. Like, she could pass for all she wants, but at the end of the day, she claims her black side. Like, he married a black woman, and y'all didn't know what to do with that. And now it's like, you thought that he loved his family so much that he was willing to give up the woman that he loves because you've done it before. She did it to her own sister. She did it to her own sister. So I just think that, you know, I hope, like, you know, you start to realize, and I hope she's in pain. I hope it really hurts her heart on the fact of saying that no matter what she does, she cannot bully her grandson. I hope it hurts her heart that they keep trying to bully this woman. And the more you bully his wife, the worse your relationship with him becomes.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It's like, okay, I've always loved Harry, and Harry has always been the most popular. Like, yeah, it was him and William, but outside of England, Great Britain, Harry has always been the most popular, I guess, because people felt like he was the most relatable.
No, he wasn't.
He had that bad boy streak, whatever.
William was popular for a long time.
Well, I guess he was more popular. William wasn't popular.
Because he's next in line after his father, but you know his grandmother's never gonna die. William was extremely popular. He was more popular than Harry. Harry was just the son on the side. Nobody ever paid attention to him.
Outside of England, no, but I guess I did
in
more
general,
because, like I said, it wasn't, you know. But so I think that, and maybe that I don't know. But like you said, nothing goes through the family. So I guess they thought that they would be able to control her. Hell, you barely controlled Harry. So I don't know why you thought you could control his wife once she married into the family. And I know it didn't quite work out the way anyone thought it would. But, you know, I am looking forward to the interview to finally hear their side uncensored, what they have to say about everything. And she's taken the muzzle off of all of her friends. They've come to her defense. All her friends who have been quiet for the last 3 years have finally just started speaking out about, not in undertones, but just blatantly saying, talking about the racism and the bullying that she's faced at the hands of the royal family and the British press. And, you know, so we'll see what happens on the other side of this interview. And just, you know, I don't think it's sad on one hand because it's your family that's doing this, but on the other hand, it's like, you know, I don't think being part of the royal institution, I don't know. I guess it's all he's ever known, so I can't say that it won't be missed, or, you know, that it's not a painful breakup with your family, because that in most cases is family. But the royal family, who knew that they were so, I guess when you talk about, we were talking earlier about public facing and putting your best face forward, who knew that they were so inherently
that's
toxic.
what it's really revealed on. And everybody had this image of the British royal family. They're one of the, well, actually they're the most famous, and they're one of the last of their kind, from a time when the monarchy actually mattered. And even though they're a constitutional monarchy, they're a constitutional monarchy. Okay.
Yeah, they are.
Because she has no power. Like, you know, that's the reason why they use the media so much, because they don't have any power. Like, it's not like they make any laws.
She still has a
parliamentary she's like
say or something.
Like, it's very limited. And at the end of the day, she can't actually make any decisions on her own. Like, Like, she's not the prime minister. The prime minister is like the president
No.
of Great Britain. She's not the prime minister. She's
No.
just there. You know, but I do hope that I hope they truly are doing good. You know, and that he is okay with the decision that he made to come here. And I hope that, you know, they survive this. This is tough. Like, this must be really, really tough, because this is your brother, your father, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents. Like, this is everybody on one side, and you, your wife, and your kids on another side. And that's got to be a tough thing. So I just hope that they continue to push forward and do what they need to do to continue to be financially independent. Like, that's just it. Because that's what they need. They just need to stay financially independent.
No. Oh, well, yeah, all that money they're making from Spotify and Netflix, I don't think they have to worry about that. Plus, you know, he had his own inheritance, and it's not like she was just broke. So I think from that financial aspect, they'll be fine. It's just, you know, like I said, being royal and British aside, like you just pointed out, this is your family. And, you know, every family has its issues, but it's just like, who knew it was so toxic? And especially if you're going through all of this, but you still covered for pedophile Prince Andrew.
You ever realize nobody talking about him no more?
You know,
literally slept with underage girls, but nobody's talking about that.
It's like,
he is his favorite. He is his favorite.
Andrew being a fucking pedophile, you know, but you gonna vilify your grandson.
He shouldn't have went outside of the race
to marry
family.
A black woman, and for this black woman not, and this black woman not having the nerve to heal to you and allow yourself.
But the thing is that at first, Meghan followed all the rules that the Queen has put in place. It may have and these were simple rules, but that is why
she did.
In part, she kind of set herself up, because you followed all of these rules at first in order to be allowed to publicly date Harry, because that's ultimately what it was about. In order to publicly date Harry, once you became serious and you knew where this was going, you followed all the simple, stupid, archaic rules that were put in place for every single person that has ever got into a relationship with a royal. And then once you got to the point where you got married and you were just like, okay, so like I could let up, right? Like we good? And they was like, oh no, this is a lifetime sentence. Like,
I don't even think it was that. I think it was the fact that once they got married, they became more popular than William and Kate.
They got married,
and that's what it comes down to.
Once you realize that they were like publicly
they were
dating,
but once
like that was all people talk about. Nobody cared about William anymore after that.
I know, but once they got but it's the difference between dating and then the pressure. And dating and marriage are two completely different things. We have celebrities who date all the time. I'm going back to Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. They were the big deal. They got engaged, but they never got married. Once Harry and Meghan got married, it was like, oh.
Is that for public or because I know they never would have let him go public about dating her if it wasn't at the point where he was ready to marry her. They wouldn't have publicly come out with a relationship like that if it wasn't the next step wasn't going to be marriage. So you knew they knew it was coming.
Not necessarily. He's dated other women before. I think it was just a matter of how the marriage was received. It all changed. I mean, it all changed once they got married. Like I said, we'll see once the interview airs. From what I've read, the things I've read, it really became toxic between, especially once they got married and once they saw that she was not. How do I say this? You know, William and Kate have a reputation for being quite lazy, and she does not. Like, she really wanted to go all in and do a lot of different charities. Like, they were upset that she wanted to help, that she did the thing with the Greenfield, that apartment building that caught fire, that tenement building that caught fire and burnt down in England, and all those people were burned a few years ago. died, she went and she did something with the women at the kitchen in the cookbook. They were upset about that she kind of wanted to forge her own path a little bit in doing different charities. And like I said, she quickly became one of the most popular members of the royal family, just because, like, and we talked about before, they were the couple, I think, even though William was going to be king, true, there's nothing you can do about that. But Harry and Meghan, their popularity exceeded William and Kate's, and that became a problem. So, but yeah, so we will see. And on to some pettiness from your favorite country, South Korea.
Petty? Oh, okay.
We talked about this, and I think on the fundamentals we agree. I think we disagree about the outcome. But Spotify, it was a big deal. I guess last month when Spotify finally pushed into the South Korean market. They finally launched in Korea, and it was a big deal. And then the company, what was it? Mnet?
Kakao.
No, Melon.
M is the actual parent company. They just control Melon.
Yeah, which owns Melon. And so they have been negotiating with Spotify for over a year about licensing agreements. Spotify got most of their music, their K-pop music. Most of their a lot of their K-pop library was licensed through this group, and they failed to reach a deal. And so a lot of Spotify's K-pop library has been removed. And so I said it was bad business because apparently Kakao, I'm just going to call them Kakao because that's what it looks like. They did not notify the artist and the companies, the management companies, that they had failed to reach a deal, or that they were just going to remove the stuff. And it seemed like it was there one day, and then the next day the music was gone. So I thought that was bad business, and I think we agreed on that part. But your opinion was something
opinion
different.
about what exactly?
You share your own opinion. You said that it was good business, that you agreed with.
Ultimate message. So if we take out the fact that our artist music is no longer available globally, I would consider it to be a good business deal. If I am a cutthroat business person that is about making money, because they don't make as much money from the distribution internationally as they do from it in South Korea. They have their own streaming service, which Spotify is going to try to take away their subscriptions, which means ultimately they're going to lose money because they're the biggest music streaming service in the Asian market at the time. So I consider it to be good business that they did what they did. I may not agree with it because I lost a lot of my playlists, and a lot of the artists that I listen to that are smaller, more independent artists, it's crappy for them. But when you take that out and you just think of it from a business aspect, I see where they're coming from, and I see why they didn't make a deal with Spotify, because Spotify is ultimately going to be taking business away from them.
And see, and I was on the opposite end. I mean, I thought it was a bad business all the way around and kind of short-sighted, especially with K-pop, the global explosion of K-pop.
But the thing is, because of course I went and I researched more because I'm obsessed. For the global groups, they weren't hit. They weren't affected. It is the smaller groups that are really focused in South Korea that just happen to slowly be getting fans, from other countries, but their main focus is still being successful in South Korea. That's who it hurt, on them gaining fans. But the big companies and the major groups, they weren't affected. They didn't get hit as hard as those smaller, more independent artists did. So at the end of the day, it doesn't hit them as hard because the artists that got hit aren't global. They're local artists. But it still affects them. Like I said, as K-pop grows, like for us, I know I started off with BTS,
And my love of BTS led to me venturing more into K-pop and discovering those other groups besides BTS who aren't mainstream. So, and I think for a lot of people who are outside of the K-pop world or who not in Asia, who haven't grown up with K-pop, I think that's the way it starts. Like, you have a lot of other groups. They start with the big groups, Monster X, BTS, G7, and they go on and they fall in that rabbit hole, and they discover these
still not a big enough market though.
Groups,
still not a big
artists,
enough market
especially
for it to actually hit them.
But as it continues to grow, it will be. And on the flip side of that, to me, if I am a company, if I am the manager of one of these companies, it's still bad business because you didn't respect me and my artist enough to do this. So when it comes around, like you said, Psy, he found a back door to get some of his music back on, and his artist music back onto Spotify. So when I have to re-up, when it comes time for me to re-up my licensing agreement, I am going to be looking at other places. And especially as the market continues to grow and go global, it will be easier for me to find the distribution than it was
we're gonna
before.
Definitely fully have to disagree on that, because when you really look at the music business and K-pop business, like we look at it from we're global, so we're looking at it from the global aspects. And even as you may get to know like little known artists, the market is still not big enough for it to hit them. Another thing is that Melon is huge. It's not only a music streaming service, it's one of the biggest music award shows in Asia. So you still gonna have people that want to stay connected to being nominated for a Melon, because it's a big deal when you're nominated for a Melon award. So I think that at the end of the day, Spotify coming in and taking their business away, because that's what Spotify was going to do. They were going to take subscriptions away from them. People were going to switch it up, and they were going to get rid of their Melon subscription, and they were going to go and subscribe to Spotify. They're looking at it as in, you're going to come in and you're taking our business. And we have to figure out, like, how are we going to keep our business going, because our music streaming service is local. It ain't global the way Spotify is. Spotify can take the hit and y'all be good. But for us, like, this is our business. You trying to come in and take our subscriptions away. So no, we're not rolling like that. So
what are you gonna? Excuse me. So my question is, where do they draw the line? Are they going to do the same thing when it comes time to re-up with Apple? Are they going to do the same thing when it comes time to re-up with other services? And I get how big Melon is. I understand that. I understand the Melon works. But what I'm saying is, in the long term, to me, it seems short-sighted, especially as the market continues to grow. There's no putting this K-pop or this K-entertainment, because it's not just K-pop, it's K-dramas. Netflix has just invested another $100 million into growing their Korean entertainment channel or network over the years. So it's no putting it back in the bottle. It's not a flash in the pan. It's going global, and and as we're going to talk about later in future episodes, Korea is now going to have to deal with what they wanted all along, opening themselves up to some of the global things and ideas. So that's another conversation. But I just think, I understand it. Don't get me wrong. I understand why they did it. But I think it was ultimately short-sighted.
Disagree, because I think at the end of the day, it would only be short-sighted if they were hit, if they hit like the big artists, like if they had hit BTS or NCT, or they hit 17 a little bit before 17 was bought up by Big Hit with Pettiness Entertainment. So their earlier stuff, some of their earlier stuff is no longer available before they came under the Big Hit umbrella. And same thing with other artists. But at the same time, when you look at K-pop being global, K-pop isn't global off of their independent artists. You may listen to that, but I still mainly listen to the big artists that got names out there. I don't listen to the underground stuff. So that's not going to hit them. They're not feeling that. The artists are going to feel it. Those companies that are too small to really hit them with any like real financial consequences is going to feel it. But those big, huge companies, they good. Like the ones that are making K-pop global have not been hit by this deal, and because they don't have distribution by that, they're good, they're fine. K-pop is still going to continue to grow even without this deal, just because what's making K-pop global is the artists that weren't hit by this this breakdown of negotiations, you know. And then the ones who want to be global, or then you're gonna have to go to a bigger company because their local market is still going to be good. That's what they're looking at it as. In my local market is still going to be good, even if I don't make a deal with Spotify, because that's what I was worried about. They're not going to be hit. K-pop can continue to go global, but at the end of the day, I'm a local market. I ain't a global market. I'm not getting subscriptions from them being all over the world. Like, I'm good. That's how I feel like they're looking at it from a business aspect. When you take out the fact of like how people love K-pop, I'm like, people love BTS. Like, you know, they love NCT, they love 17, but those little underground artists, don't nobody listen to them other than in their Asian markets. Not really. You know, that's just a harsh reality of how they're I think they're looking at, you know, the fact that they refuse to make a deal with Spotify.
Well, we will agree to disagree. I like I said, I understand what you're saying. I get it, and I understand why they did it. I still think ultimately it was bad business, in the way that you did it. But we will see what happens. And so that brings us to, we were talking about BTS. Congratulations to BTS. They were the top selling global artist of the year of 2020, beating out Taylor Swift and The Weeknd. I think it was I want to say IFPPI is what it's called, or something like that. But anyway, what it comes down to is that they were the top global artist of the year. So BTS is continuing on with their world domination, which is cool for them. And I think that is going to do it for this episode of the ReWine.
And I'm Tammy.
And until next time, I'm Eddie.